The good life isn't just about money. It had been 3 years since we had tied the knot and become Mr. and Mrs. Dave and Molly Jacobs. Molly and I had a strong friendship and love for each other. However, the biggest problem for Molly was the lack of money, and she couldn't see a path to where we would ever be able to have the things that she really wanted in life. You see, Molly had grown up poor. Her family struggled to afford even the occasional nice dinner out. She had always worn clothes made by her mother or purchased secondhand. She couldn't afford certain experiences that most kids her age had, like going to the movies or joining after-school clubs. Molly was constantly frustrated by the lack of money in her life, and she envied her friends who seemed to have everything they wanted. She dreamed of living a life filled with luxurious things. In her final year of high school, Molly met me, Dave. My family had money and lived in a nice neighborhood. But Molly noticed that I didn't seem to place much importance on wealth. I assured her that I didn't notice her secondhand clothes, and I saw her as the most beautiful girl in school. Despite her doubts about whether I could improve her financial situation, Molly fell in love with my personality, charisma, and the way we shared deep connections. Molly decided to pursue a career as a paralegal, hoping it would provide a steady income. Though it wouldn't make us rich, it would allow her to afford reasonable clothes and occasional outings to nice places. I chose a career as a physical therapist because I loved helping people recover from pain and injuries. It wouldn't make me wealthy either, but the satisfaction I derived from my work was worth it. I couldn't bear the thought of sitting at a desk all day. I knew that my parents had a trust fund of $15 million, but I hadn't revealed this to Molly. I didn't want her to become obsessed with money or change our relationship because of it. Moreover, my father's experience with newfound wealth had shown me the potential negative effects money could have on one's life. My father's behavior changed drastically when he received the money, and it ruined his and my parents' marriage. He indulged in vices like drinking, partying, and gambling, and it took a toll on his health. Eventually, he suffered a heart attack and passed away. Witnessing my father's downfall, both my mother and I decided we didn't want the same thing to happen to us. We wanted to cherish the simplicity and love we had in our lives before money complicated everything. After my father's passing, I made it a point to spend time with my mother regularly. I tried to encourage her to engage in activities outside of her grief and even suggested travel and charity work. However, she preferred her simpler life, focusing on friends, church, and our relationship, as she still mourned my father's loss. Unknown to Molly, my mother had been diagnosed with cancer and didn't want me to worry or alter my life while she battled it. She downplayed the severity of her condition, and I remained oblivious to the possibility that her days might be numbered. As our 5th year of marriage approached, I was content with our lives. Molly loved me and enjoyed our day-to-day life, even though she still yearned for a wealthier lifestyle. She aimed to improve her status at work to secure a promotion which would provide a higher salary and benefits. She worked for a renowned law firm, and the owner, Jay Sutter, was seeking a personal assistant. Molly dressed professionally for her interview, exuding confidence and a hint of her natural charm. She wanted to impress Sutter and prove that she was the right fit for the role. Molly's qualifications and desirable appearance made her a strong candidate, and Sutter felt a certain attraction toward her. Molly came home, brimming with excitement, as she had been offered the job. She explained to me that it meant longer hours, including weekends, and closer collaboration with Sutter. She asked if I was okay with her pursuing this opportunity. I reassured Molly that I supported her career choices and that nothing in life was permanent. If the job didn't fulfill her expectations, she could always find other opportunities. I encouraged her to view it as a stepping stone for future growth and success. Molly's new role brought us closer to fulfilling some of her desires, but little did she know about the trust fund my mother held. I didn't want her to become consumed by thoughts of wealth or change her attitude towards our current life. Additionally, my mother's health was deteriorating due to her battle with cancer, and I didn't want Molly's hopes to be crushed should anything happen to my mother. My intention was to protect both Molly and our relationship from the potential negative effects obsession with money could bring. Oh yes, Mr. Sutter. I don't have any kids and my husband often has to work at night too, fitting in clients after work for massage and physical therapy. This will work very well for me and I am so grateful, Mr. Sutter. I won't let you down. Well, excellent. But Molly, call me Jay. We will be working closely together and I prefer a casual and open relationship with my assistant. Feel free to talk to me about anything and everything and I'll do the same. When Molly walked in the door at home, she excitedly told me about getting the job and asked me to sit on the couch. She looked at me with incredible excitement and joy about getting the job, and she told me she wanted me to celebrate with her. As the weeks went by and Molly got absorbed in her job, she would rave about how intelligent and observant her boss, Jay, was. She told me about his stylish suits, his expensive watches, and how he treated her with respect and admiration. None of this bothered me, as I was confident in our marriage and had trust in my wife. Besides, she had mentioned that Jay was older and not particularly attractive. It didn't seem like a threat, at least not at first. But as time went on, Molly stopped talking about Jay and work. When I asked her about her day, she avoided eye contact and quickly changed the subject. Molly started working later each evening, sometimes not getting home until 8 p.m. I decided to confront her about her late nights. One night I couldn't hold it in any longer. Molly, what's going on with you? You come home late, take a shower even though you already had one before we even have dinner or talk. You never want to discuss work, but you spend so much time there. If I didn't know how much you love me, I would think you were having an affair. Davy, don't even think that. You know how much I love you. There isn't much to tell about work. I mainly take dictation, type up documents, and handle billing for my boss. He has many meetings during the day, so he catches up on work later in the evening when most employees have gone home. And remember, he warned me that there would be late nights when I first got the job. Now we both understand what he meant. She looked away as she spoke, avoiding eye contact, and for the first time, doubt crept into my mind. But I decided to drop it and be more attentive to what was happening. Usually, I was the first one up and out the door in the morning, attending to clients who preferred morning sessions. But that morning, I had some free time. As I sat in the kitchen, sipping coffee and reading the paper, I heard a different ringtone coming from upstairs. It wasn't Molly's usual ringtone, and certainly not mine. Quietly, I went to the bottom of the stairs and listened as she picked up the phone and said, "Oh, hi Jay, how is my amazing boss doing today?" I couldn't hear his response, but I heard her laugh. Then she said, "Yes, Jay. I miss you too and can't wait to see the surprise you mentioned. Let me shower and get ready for work, sweetie. I'll see you soon." Did she just call her boss sweetie? What was the surprise he had for her? And what was that different ringtone? When I heard the shower turn on, I cautiously walked upstairs and saw her purse on the bed. I peeked inside and found a brand new expensive phone. Molly certainly didn't buy that herself, and it wasn't covered by our phone plan. I was trying to unlock the phone and see if there were any text messages or calls, but it had a password and none of the obvious ones worked. As I was putting the phone back, I noticed a small jewelry box in her purse. When I looked inside, I was shocked to see 2 beautiful diamond earrings from Cartier & Sons. They must have been really expensive, and Molly couldn't afford them. I was confused and getting angry. I went downstairs and sat quietly in the kitchen, waiting for Molly to come down the stairs. She probably thought I had already left for work, so when she came down dressed in a very revealing outfit, I was even more surprised. When she noticed me staring, she blushed and tried to hide behind the kitchen island. "Oh my gosh, Davy, you surprised me," she said. "Why are you still home? I thought you would be at work by now." "It's pretty obvious," I said as I walked around the island and grabbed her hand. "Are you going to work or going to a club to look for someone to date? How can you dress like that for work? And where did that outfit come from? Those are really expensive shoes. And that dress and stockings must have cost a fortune. I also want to know why you have a new cell phone and expensive earrings in your purse. What is going on, Molly? Are you stealing or cheating?" Molly looked at me and started crying. She quickly walked into the living room and sat down. "Davy, please let me explain. It's not what you think at all. My love is only for you, no one else." "So, you're saying you love someone else but you're not sleeping with him?" "No, Davy, I didn't say that. Don't twist my words. Please let me explain. I'm listening, but if you lie to me, I'm leaving." "Davy, it's not what you think. I didn't tell you about all this because I thought it would upset you and you would misunderstand. These are all bonuses from my boss for my hard work. He gave me the phone so he can contact me whenever he needs to, and he wants our calls to be private and secure with a password. The earrings were a gift for my dedication. He said he couldn't give me a pay raise or bonus directly, so he bought me the earrings. He also bought me some clothes and wants me to dress a certain way at work. She looked at me, worried that I wouldn't believe her. Please, Davy, you have to trust me. It doesn't mean anything. I just want to do well at my job and continue to progress in the company. You know you're the one I love. Jay Sutter could never compare to you. I looked at her with pain and tears in my eyes. I think this is the first time you've lied to me, Molly. I believe you are involved with your boss, and he is giving you these gifts as a way to win you over. I think that's why you come home and shower immediately. You're trying to hide something. And since when do you call your boss sweetie and talk about how excited you are to see him? Molly turned red and gasped, trying to explain herself, but I interrupted. Molly, don't even attempt to lie. I overheard your conversation this morning. I'm leaving, and when and if I come back, you better be honest with me about what's really going on. I walked towards the door as Molly chased after me, begging me to come back and explain. Please, Davy, it's not what you think. Come back and let me show you. Please, I love only you. She knelt in front of me, trying to touch me, but I pushed her hand away and yelled, Goodbye, Molly. I walked out the door, not knowing where I was headed. In the rearview mirror, I saw Molly crying and screaming for me to come back. I couldn't handle her right now, and I was certain she was lying. Maybe our whole marriage had been built on lies. I needed time to think. I found myself driving to my mom's house. She lived only 30 minutes away, and I scolded myself for not visiting more often. I called her every week, but I rarely drove out to see her. I justified it with the busyness of life, the routines, trying to handle work, the house and chores, and of course Molly. Thinking about Molly brought everything to the forefront of my mind. I wasn't sure if she was cheating on me, but what kind of boss gives thousands of dollars in jewelry, clothes, and a phone unless something more than work was going on? And even if Molly hadn't slept with him yet, his behavior was completely inappropriate for a boss-employee relationship. If it hadn't escalated to something physical, it was surely his intention, and how long would it take, especially considering Molly's desire for expensive things? I pushed these thoughts aside as I pulled into my mom's driveway. When I entered the house, it was quiet. Mom, are you here? I called out. I found her on the couch with a bucket next to her. She turned to look at me, her eyes filled with pain. She looked pale and sickly, struggling to sit up. I rushed to her, and just as she had to reach for the bucket again to vomit, tears filled her eyes. I sat down next to her, trying to comfort her. Oh, Davy, you surprised me. I didn't want you to see me like this. What's wrong, Mom? Do you have the flu? Have you been to the doctor? How can I help you? Here, let me clean this bucket. I'll be right back. I took the bucket to the bathroom, flushed the contents, and quickly rinsed it. Returning to the couch, I asked, Mom, please talk to me. What's going on? Davy, just stay calm. I'm okay. I feel a bit ashamed that I didn't tell you during our calls in the past few weeks, but I'm going through chemo again. The after effects are causing me to be sick like this. I have chemo treatments every Monday, and this is how my Tuesday through Thursday usually goes. So, no, I'm not sick other than the cancer. It's come back, and they're trying to fight it again. Oh no, Mom. What does the doctor say? Well, Davy, he hasn't given me good news. I'll try to get more information next week at my appointment, but it seems like he's not very optimistic. I'm going to ask him directly if this chemo treatment is worth it. If it's not going to work, I don't want to continue with it. If my time is limited, I want to make the most of it, feeling good enough to do the things I love, like gardening and spending time with friends. Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. You have to beat this, Mom. I can't bear the thought of losing you. How can I help? When is your next appointment? I'm going with you. Davy, you have your own life to live. Don't worry too much about me. You have a wonderful wife and a career to focus on. I'll be fine. Mom, you are an important part of my life. Taking care of you is part of taking care of my own life. Besides, I'm not so sure about Molly. I found over $10,000 worth of gifts that she received from her boss. She claims it's just rewards for her hard work and long hours. But I don't believe it. It feels like she's lying to me, and I need to get to the truth. I left in anger this morning and came here to see you. Oh, Davy, I can't believe it. Molly loves you more than anything. I can't imagine her cheating on you. Mom, Molly is obsessed with material things. She's always resented not having a luxurious life. I think she believes that to be truly happy, you need money and the best things in life. That's why she works so hard. It seems like she values material possessions more than our fun, loving, and trusting life together. Oh, Davy, what are you going to do? You need to talk to her and find out the truth before making any rash decisions. Besides, you have a $15 million trust fund waiting for you. You can start enjoying it right away if you want. I know, Mom, but that's not the life I want. If Molly is willing to cheat on me, I don't want to win her over with money. To me, too much money creates more responsibilities and stress, not less. So, what are you going to do, honey? I don't know, Mom. But right now, I feel like if she has betrayed my trust by being close with her boss, then our marriage is in trouble. If she hasn't, then I'll try to have a conversation with her and suggest counseling so we can find out if we can be happy with our current lifestyle. She has no idea about the trust fund, and I don't plan on telling her now. But, Mom, enough of that. I'm going to take care of you for the weekend, speak to your doctor, and see if we can improve your health. Molly had been calling me all afternoon and evening, leaving voicemails that I hadn't bothered to listen to. Finally, my mom convinced me that I should at least let Molly know I was okay, so I agreed and gave her a call. Molly, I see you've been trying to reach me. What do you want? Davy, where are you? I miss you. You can't just leave without letting me know you're okay. Please let me explain. It's not what you think. There's nothing going on between me and my boss. Please come home so we can discuss this. Molly, I don't know if I can believe you when you say there's nothing going on. How can I not question why your boss is giving you such expensive gifts without expecting anything in return? Dave, I love you. You need to trust me. I don't want anyone else but you. These are just gifts, and yes, I like them, but I want to spend my life with you. I want us to have a family and grow old together. But I also want us to be financially secure, so I think this job could lead to better opportunities. Please come home so we can talk. Molly, it's hard for me to understand and accept that it's appropriate for your boss to give you such expensive gifts. If you haven't done anything yet, he might start expecting something, and you might feel obligated. Davy, it's not like that at all. Money doesn't matter to Jay, he has plenty. He's just rewarding me for my hard work and dedication. Molly, I really don't know what to believe. I have this feeling that you're not being completely honest with me, and it's eating me up inside. No, Dave, please don't even think that. Molly, that's not something we can resolve. Anyway, there's something else I need to tell you. My mom's cancer has returned, and I'm with her now. I'll be taking care of her for the rest of the week and the weekend, and I have an appointment with her doctor on Friday to understand the prognosis. So, I won't be back until Monday evening at the earliest, and if I'm not back for dinner, I'll give you a call. Oh no, Dave, that's so unfair that the cancer came back. Should I come over and spend the weekend with you? I don't want you to be alone during this difficult time, especially when we're having a rough patch. I can be there in an hour. No, Molly, it's not a good idea until we figure out where our relationship stands. Oh my God, Davy, don't say that. Our relationship is strong. We love each other, and we're meant to be together. Don't think like that. Nothing's going on. It would devastate me to lose you. Molly, I have to go now. I'll see you on Monday. And please, when we talk, be honest with me so we can figure out where our future lies. I hung up feeling like she was saying the right things, but she wasn't addressing the issue of the gifts, why she accepted them, and if something had happened between her and her boss. I had a terrible feeling that she had already broken our vows, and she was just trying to find a way to tell me without losing me. I spent the rest of Wednesday evening and most of Thursday taking care of Mom. By Friday, she was feeling better, so we went to see her doctor. After the examination, the doctor called me into his office for a serious conversation. Well, young man, I'm afraid I don't have good news. Your mom doesn't have more than 3 to 5 months to live. The chemotherapy isn't effective this time, and we don't have any other treatments to offer. I convinced her to undergo 3 more sessions of chemo, but after that, she wants to live the rest of her life peacefully. When we returned home that evening, we sat on the couch and cried together. I expressed my love for her and told her how grateful I was for the incredible life she had given me. She had always been my moral guide, someone I could rely on to show me the right path in life. We held each other and reminisced about the good times. However, she soon grew tired and wanted to rest. She urged me to stay positive and not let her last months be filled with sadness. She considered herself lucky to have lived a good life, and she told me that I was her greatest accomplishment. She rested that afternoon and felt better in the evening, so I got her a movie and left to distract myself. I was a mess. My mom was dying, and my wife was possibly being unfaithful. I thought about drowning my sorrows in alcohol, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. After days of contemplating the gifts and talking to Molly, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been betrayed. With no better plan in mind, I decided to drive by our house and see if Molly was there. I parked down the block, where I had a view of the front door. To my surprise, her car was in the driveway and the front door was open. Molly was home. I debated whether to confront her then and there about our problems when a metallic blue Porsche sped past me and pulled into our driveway. As it drove by, I noticed the vanity plate on the rear that said J's 1. Wow, what a fool, I thought to myself. That guy must have some serious insecurities. Molly hurried out of the house, locked up, and ran to the car. She was dressed to impress, wearing a vibrant red dress and matching high heels. Ducking down, I watched as they drove away. Molly didn't recognize my car, captivated by the experience of sitting in a $100,000 sports car. I decided to follow them and see where they went. It didn't take long. They arrived downtown and parked at the valet of Manny's, a renowned steakhouse. Sutter gallantly opened the car door for Molly, and I could see the desire in his eyes as they stared at each other. They walked arm in arm to the entrance of the restaurant and disappeared inside. I found a parking spot on the street and went into the restaurant, pretending not to notice them. From a distance, I spotted them sitting closely together in a booth. I fought the urge to approach them and make a scene, instead opting to leave and return to my car. I sat in my car for 2 hours, reading various articles about divorce on my phone to keep myself busy. Finally, I saw the valet bring the Porsche back, and they both got in. I hoped this would be the end of it, but deep down, I knew better as I followed them down the street. It didn't take long for my heart to break as they pulled into the Hilton, using the valet once more. Sutter walked around to the passenger door, and I watched in agony as they shared a passionate hug. That was the moment I knew our marriage was over. I was angry, sad, confused, surprised, and overwhelmed with emotions as I slowly drove back to my mom's house. When I arrived in the driveway, I sat there contemplating how to move forward. Divorce seemed like the only answer, but Molly worked for a top-notch divorce firm, leaving me at a disadvantage. We didn't have many assets, given our modest house and limited savings. While I earned slightly more than her, I anticipated alimony wouldn't be substantial. However, the question of the $15 million trust fund remained. If, God forbid, my mom passed away before the divorce was finalized, Molly and her lawyers would undoubtedly discover it. I realized that the current situation wasn't a problem for me at the moment it belonged to my mom until she passed away. However, the doctor wasn't optimistic when we spoke privately, saying that she may only have a few months left to live. A divorce usually takes at least 6 months or longer if the spouse fights it and demands counseling, argues about splitting assets, or finds other reasons to delay the process. I was determined not to let any of that money go to Molly, so I needed to come up with a plan. I considered disappearing and taking the money with me, but I couldn't abandon my mom and live in fear of being discovered. I also thought about staying in the marriage and having relationships outside of it, creating an open marriage. However, that wasn't my style, and it didn't align with my mom's values. Killing Molly and Jay Sutter was out of the question too. It wasn't worth ruining my life over them, and I couldn't go against my principles by resorting to murder. An idea started forming in my mind, although I knew it was a long shot. If I played my cards right, maybe I could make it work. I would have to let go of my hatred and desire for revenge, but if I played the long game, they would eventually face the consequences of their actions. On Monday evening, I returned home and Molly eagerly greeted me at the door. She tried to give me a hug, but I pushed her away and told her we needed to talk. The look of shock on her face was quickly replaced with dread at hearing the words "we need to talk." We entered the living room, and she gestured for me to sit next to her on the couch. However, I chose the armchair across from her, causing a look of sadness and despair to wash over her. "Davy, I missed you so much. You can't leave me like that. I need you. I'm so in love with you, and I'm sorry if you have the wrong impression of me. I truly love you. Are you here to stay? Can we forget about suspicions and anger and make things right?" Molly pleaded. I looked at her with disappointment, which only deepened her distress. "Molly, stop with the pretense and let's have an honest conversation. I know all about your Friday night with Sutter. I saw you at the restaurant, dressed up to the nines. You never dressed like that for me, but maybe it's because I don't have a fancy car with personalized license plates." Molly tried to interject, but I cut her off. "Just listen, Molly. I saw you at the restaurant, sitting in the booth with him. Oh, Davy, please no, I don't love him, I love you. We can't end our marriage this way. I need you." Molly pleaded desperately. "Then why are you involved with him? Why are you disrespecting me and cheating on me if you claim to love me? Tell me, why?" I demanded, frustration evident in my voice. Molly cringed, knowing that the only hope she had was the truth. Okay. I admit it, I'm attracted to his wealth and lifestyle. I don't want to be this way, but I can't seem to resist his lavish gifts, expensive gadgets, designer clothes, and fancy dinners at luxurious restaurants. It's like a dream come true for me, and he promised to push my career to new heights. But Davy, please believe me. I don't love him, and I never will. Yes, I enjoy the perks he provides, but when I'm with him, it means nothing to me. I feel nothing, and I don't have any emotional or physical connection with him. It's purely transactional, and I'm sorry for the guilt and anxiety it has caused me. Well, Molly, you've certainly put us in a difficult situation by getting involved with him. What exactly do you think will happen now? Are you willing to quit your job, attend counseling, and leave your materialistic desires behind to see if we can salvage our marriage? Oh, Davy, please don't ask that. I don't want to lose you, but I also don't want to give up the lifestyle Jay provides. Is there any way you could let me have both and think of it as a professional arrangement? When I come home from being with him, I need a strong connection with you. Can we find a way that satisfies both of us? I promise I'll make it up to you in every way possible." Molly begged. "Geez, Molly. How can you expect me to accept that? Do you really think I'd be willing to be in a one-sided relationship while you enjoy all the riches? I'm furious with you right now, and I can't even stand to be around you, let alone touch you," I replied angrily. With that, I stormed out, slamming the door behind me. I knew that the first step of my plan was in motion, and I would see if I could push it forward on Wednesday. If not, I was prepared to proceed with the divorce. I was disgusted with Molly, and I had lost all love and respect for her. Her greed and materialistic desires had consumed her, and it seemed like the only thing she cared about was the superficial wealth she could obtain. I considered driving to Sutter's house and confronting him, even resorting to violence, but why bother? Molly had already lost my love and respect, and there was no relationship worth saving anymore. It was time to focus on finding a way to end our marriage painlessly and cheaply. I had done extensive research online about divorces and knew that the process could be expensive and financially draining. I predicted that Molly would fight the divorce and drag it out, making it even more unlikely that I could finalize it before my mom's passing and the transfer of the $15 million trust fund. I discovered that in some cases, uncontested divorces could be granted in just 3 months if both parties agreed and had the same legal representation. That possibility became essential to my plan. Over the next few days, I juggled a few massage appointments to make some money, but my main focus was taking care of my mom and attending to her needs. We looked through old photo albums, reminiscing and sharing both laughter and tears. I made sure to express my love and appreciation for how she had raised me and the wonderful childhood she provided. Wednesday came faster than I expected, and I went over to my house to have another talk with Molly. When I walked in, she was wearing a cozy robe and I noticed she had on stockings and high heels. I figured she had just come home from work, so I asked her if it was a good time to talk. She replied, "Any time I get to be with you is a good time for me, Dave. I really missed you, and I don't like how things are between us. We need to fix this." Well, Molly, tell me then, how would you fix it? Davy, you would move back in here, and we would spend quality time together like we used to, 4 or 5 times a week. You would treat me like you did before you found out about Jay Sutter, and I would treat you like my everything, doing whatever it takes to make you happy. But Molly, what about the issue of you and Sutter? Oh, Davy, if you could just forget about that. Let me have that part of my life where I can enjoy all the nice things we can't afford. But I promise, I'll come home to you just like I always have, and we'll have a romantic and loving time together, enjoying each other's company just like soulmates should. Do you love me enough to let me continue this way? Please, baby, I'll make it up to you. Internally, I felt disgusted. Who was this woman and what had she done to my wife? But instead of reacting impulsively, I played it cool and said, Molly, please listen carefully. This is how I see it. We have conflicting desires. You want the luxurious lifestyle that Sutter can provide, but in order to have that, you have to be with him. And I can't accept that while we are still married. So, I can't agree to what you want. That leaves us with a few options. We could have an open marriage, where I can also be with others, but we would still be married and spend time together. No, Davy, I can't agree to that. I can't bear the thought of you being with someone else. Okay, well, that leaves us with divorce. Oh my God, no, Dave, I will never divorce you. I can't let you go. Please, babe, don't even bring that up. Well, Molly, if we consider divorce based on adultery and we go through a difficult legal battle, we would lose all our savings. We would spend a fortune on lawyers. At least I would. I would end up with nothing, no home, and we would ruin any remaining relationship we have by dragging each other through a nasty and bitter divorce. Then please, Davy, don't even mention it. That's not a good plan. I need you in my life. Well, Molly, please hear me out on this idea. You desire the things in life that Sutter can offer you. I imagine Sutter has talked to you about leaving me and marrying him. Upon hearing this, Molly looked away and whispered, Yes, babe, but I would never do that. Just listen to me. I'm guessing you've been to his house and been there a few times, right? Molly looked down again and sobbed softly, saying, Yes, babe, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Molly, listen carefully. His house must be incredible. If you were to marry him, you would have all the riches you desire. A beautiful house decorated to your taste, an amazing car, vacations to luxurious destinations. You would stay in the finest resorts, wear the best clothes and jewelry, dine in exclusive restaurants, and enjoy the nightlife at the most prestigious and high-end clubs. It's the life you dream of having, and you could have it all. But Davy, I will never leave you. I need you. I told you, he gives me gifts, but our love life is lacking, and we don't have the connection we do. I can't give you up. Internally, I cringed, realizing that I no longer felt that connection with Molly. I only felt contempt knowing she would throw away what we had for material possessions. It became clear to me that we were never truly right for each other, and wasting more time in this marriage would be a mistake. Molly, I said, putting on my best persuasive voice, you wouldn't have to be without me, and I wouldn't have to be without you. We could have a secret affair, meeting up and sharing our love and companionship. I could see her considering it, which made me lose even more respect for her, if that was even possible at this point. But how would I find time to see you and be with you? I work for him, and I would be spending all my time with him, even at night, which sounds dreadful now that I think about it. No, Davy, I can't do it. Molly, once you're married, you tell him that you no longer want to work for him. Explain that you are now equal partners in the marriage and having a work relationship would disrupt that. Say that you want to focus on self-improvement, maybe go back to school or pursue other interests. Then I would make sure all my clients booked appointments in the evening, and we would have the entire weekdays to spend together. That's how you can have both his material possessions and a life of luxury, and me as your best friend. I had laid it on thick, but I could see the gears turning in Molly's mind. I had planted a seed, and hopefully it would grow into something. Now, I had to explain the details. Of course, Molly, for this plan to work, we would have to have a peaceful, no-fault divorce. We would split our savings, and I would keep the house so we have a place to meet. To save money, we could have Sutter be our lawyer since he knows his way around, but you would have to convince him to complete the divorce amicably without trying to take advantage of us financially. It was crucial for us to get a divorce quickly, as it would be expected that we separate during the process, and you couldn't begin our affair until you were married and no longer working for him. With Sutter's connections, I'm confident he could handle the divorce and get everything settled within 3 months or even less. Davy, I don't know. I really don't want to get a divorce, but I also desire his lifestyle. But God, I don't want to be with him. I'm not sure I can bear living with him and being his wife. Can't you just let me continue seeing him on the side and keep things as they are now? It won't take away from us. I'm sorry, Molly, but we already discussed that. You don't want an open marriage, which is the only way we can stay together. So that leaves us with divorce. We can either choose the difficult path where we fight and lose everything, becoming bitter enemies who never see each other again, or we can go for the option I just outlined where we still keep each other in a secret long-term affair and you can enjoy the luxurious life you desire, with Sutter paying for it all. I could see Molly struggling and needing time to think it through. I knew she needed some motivation, and although the thought made me sick, I had to keep up the charade and pretend to be into her until she chose either divorce option 1 or 2. I walked over to Molly and said, I know you have a lot to think about, so let's put that idea aside for now and focus on enjoying what we can have if you choose divorce option 2. Molly, I need to go take care of my mom. Think about everything we talked about, and please let me know your decision by tomorrow night. I didn't want to give her too much time to deliberate, hoping that once she was committed to divorce option 2, I could keep moving forward and get this done as soon as possible. As I drove back to my mom's, guilt started to gnaw at me. I knew I was manipulating Molly into a plan that would prevent her from getting any of my money and ultimately end our relationship. But she had made her choice and was unwilling to give up her desire for wealth and luxury. I convinced myself that she would receive the consequences she deserved. Over the past week or 2, Mom's condition had remained stable. She agreed to continue with chemotherapy for a few more weeks in hopes of seeing any positive effects. Having me around made her happy, so I made sure our conversations were light and positive, avoiding discussing her health. I took her out on drives to the park she used to take me to when I was young. We would sit on the park bench and watch the children playing, bringing back fond memories for Mom. Mom approached me about leaving some money for Molly. She didn't seem to realize that Molly would still receive half of our assets in a typical divorce, despite her cheating. I didn't delve into the details and reassured Mom that I would agree to whatever she wanted. We decided that she could leave Molly $10,000 and Molly would be invited to the reading of the will by Mom's lawyer. The following evening, I visited Molly and confronted her about her decision. She hesitated before admitting that she wanted things to stay the way they were. I stood up, grabbed my coat and keys, and said, Well, Molly, that doesn't work for me. I guess I'll need to hire a lawyer and start divorce proceedings. I assume you'll be using Sutter as your lawyer. Oh no, Dave. What are you saying? Would this be the end for you and me? No, babe, I can't let that happen. Molly, we've been through all of this. There's only one path forward for us. So please, decide what you want to do. Molly, I've been thinking about how we can persuade Sutter to represent us both and expedite the divorce process. I've also been considering how you can approach the idea of leaving me and marrying him. Molly hesitated, worried about the consequences. Dave, I don't want you to witness him and me together. Wouldn't that break your heart? Molly, yes, it would be heart-wrenching, but I'm willing to endure it to save our relationship. I'll set up the camera, and all you have to do is get him to come upstairs, have a brief conversation, and then I can use the video to persuade him to represent us both and facilitate a peaceful, no-fault divorce. We ended our conversation. Although I still felt a twinge of guilt for manipulating Molly, I couldn't ignore that she was the one who had betrayed my love and our marriage. My focus shifted towards ensuring she learned a valuable life lesson. I continued to spend most evenings at Mom's house, hoping to provide comfort and support during her declining health. I actively avoided spending more time with Molly than necessary. She stopped discussing her affair and her job, and I sensed her embarrassment. However, she was unwilling to relinquish the riches she desired. By the following Friday, I had set up a camera in our bedroom and shared the plan with Molly. She was to inform Sutter that I would be working late and spending the weekend with my mom. I parked my car down the street and observed as Sutter's Porsche, with its obnoxious vanity plates, pulled into our driveway. Molly invited him inside, and after 40 minutes, they emerged. Once they left for their night out, I entered the house, retrieved the SD cards from the camera, downloaded the footage, erased the content, and removed the camera. It was clear to me that Molly was solely motivated by material gain. I highly doubted the longevity of their relationship and wondered if Sutter would protect himself with a prenuptial agreement. However, I couldn't care less. The next morning, I visited Molly and informed her that it was time to proceed with the plan. "Molly, you need to call Sutter and tell him that I became suspicious and installed hidden cameras." "Oh, Davy, I'm not sure about this. Can't we just abandon the divorce plan and continue as we have been? You know I'll make you happy, and we can still spend time together. Getting a few gifts from Sutter is just an extra perk for the work I do." No. I don't want that at all. If you truly loved me, you would allow this to continue until I got bored. Molly, I could say the same. If you truly loved me, you would never have done this in the first place. It's too late for these discussions. Do you want to proceed with the plan or separate ways here? God, Davy, you're so stubborn. I don't want to do this, but if it's the only way for us to continue, then I guess I have no choice. I'll talk to Jay today about the divorce and about him and me being a couple, as you suggested. Later that night, I called Molly from my mom's house to inquire about how things had gone. Dave, he was completely shocked. He's terrified you might come after him. He's also scared about the video getting out. It would ruin his reputation and harm his practice if people discovered that he had seduced his personal assistant, resulting in the breakdown of a marriage. Yes, Molly, just imagine if I were to inform the American Bar Association, he might even lose his license to practice, at least temporarily. Oh God, please don't do that. The luxuries could come to an end. I thought to myself how predictable it was for Molly to prioritize that aspect. She was such a greedy person. But I refrained from sharing these thoughts and simply said, "Molly, I will contact him and initiate the divorce process. I think you should inform him that I have moved in with my mom until everything is settled. After all, her health is declining rapidly, and she truly needs me by her side. I'll see you when I can, probably not until the weekend." I scheduled a meeting with Sutter, assuming a false identity, and warned Molly not to be present in the office at 4:30 p.m. on the day of our confrontation. She complied, and another person let me into Sutter's office, informing him that a Mr. Jones was there to see him. Sutter greeted me with a smile, and as much as I wanted to unleash my anger on him physically, I had to stick to the plan. It took every ounce of self-control not to smash his front teeth and deliver a blow to his pride. I ignored his hand when he reached out to shake mine and said, "Mr. Sutter, thanks for meeting me. First of all, my name is actually Dave Jacobs, and my wife is Molly Jacobs, your personal assistant that you have been dating." I put a lot of anger and menace into my opening statement, and he looked stunned at first, and then scared. He quickly retreated behind his desk. "Now, Mr. Jacobs, don't even think about getting physical, or you'll end up in jail, and it will cost you a lot of time and money to get out. Listen, I'm sorry about what happened. I didn't mean to fall in love with Molly, and for her to fall in love with me, but it happened and we just couldn't keep ourselves apart once we understood that we were true soulmates. You probably don't want to hear that, and I know you would like to punch me in the face right now, but again, that would be a major mistake. Why the heck are you here? Sutter, you know that Molly has chosen you over me and has refused to work on our marriage. So I guess you win. However, I'm not going to just fall on my sword unless you help me out." With that, I handed him a USB stick and said, "You can look at this in your spare time, but basically it shows you and Molly being in my house." Sutter, there are two ways that we can move forward. The worst case scenario is that I fight Molly on the divorce. I get a lawyer and she'll retain you or one of your staff and it becomes a drag-out fight. I take this video and send it to the paper, to social media sites, to the Bar Association, to your parents and friends, basically anyone I can think of in an attempt to ruin you. Now, Jacobs, hold on. That will damage Molly too, and do you really want to do that to the woman you love? Also, how will you feel knowing everyone knows your wife cheated on you? There must be another idea on your mind, so get to it. Yes, Sutter, there is. I know that I have lost Molly to you, so I basically want to quickly dissolve this sham of a marriage and move on. But I don't want to lose everything in the process, and I want Molly to be okay when this is all done. You don't have to worry about Molly Jacobs. I'm going to take real good care of her, and yes, I want your marriage to end quickly too so Molly and I can move forward together. Well then my proposal to you, Sutter, is this. You represent both Molly and me in a no-fault, uncontested divorce. We can split our savings, which is virtually nothing, but I keep the house, which again has virtually no equity, maybe $10,000 at the top of the potential market price. Who knows, it might even be underwater at this point. Regardless, you just take the asset list from me, write it up as a split down the middle, get us divorced in less than 3 months, and it's no charge to me or Molly. If you agree, then we won't have to get into all the ugly battles and mudslinging that will happen if my terms aren't met. So Jacobs, that's it. I represent you both, no charge, split everything besides the house 50/50/50, and you're done. Yes, but don't forget, the clock is running. I want to be out of the state and into a new life in less than 3 months. You would probably like me gone too, so you can feel confident that I won't be around to complicate your and Molly's new life. I am guessing you have a few judges that are friendly to you, and if you ask, and they know that it is a non-contentious divorce, they will get it recorded and done quickly. Yeah, Jacobs, I can make that happen. Okay, let me confirm with Molly, but if she is on the same page as you, we have a deal. Just send me the asset list and I'll get started immediately on the paperwork. I'll have you served next week. You just sign and return the papers to me, and we will be on our way. I stood up, trying to keep the smile off my face, and with a look of disgust I turned and walked towards the office door saying, I won't pretend to shake your hand as my instinct would be to snap your wrist. I'm counting on you to make it happen so we can both get on with our lives. When I got home, I sent Sutter the asset list and then I updated Molly on where we were at. She looked drawn out and haggard, and when she finally spoke, I felt a tinge of guilt, but again reminded myself that this was the situation she had gotten herself into, and now she would have to face the consequences. Dave, I am feeling so confused about this whole plan. I know that Sutter will now want me to stay over at his place and put the pressure on about spending more and more time together as a couple. I'm not sure I can deal with that. I didn't really want her living full-time with Sutter if I was going to still have to be there for her emotionally for 3 months, so I made a suggestion. Molly, why don't you tell Sutter that you don't feel right living as a couple until you are divorced and until you are divorced and until you and Sutter are married. Tell him I have moved in with my mom, which by the way really isn't a lie. She has gone off the chemo now and is getting weaker and weaker, and I need to spend as much time as possible with her. So tell Sutter you are staying alone at the house and you can still date him in secret, but you don't want the office or the general public to know until our divorce is final. When I got back to Mom's house, she was on the couch watching TV. She said she felt weak but actually felt better without the chemo treatments. She insisted on talking about the funeral, what songs she wanted sung, who should be there, who she wanted to do scripture readings, and what I thought I would say in my eulogy. I had to leave the room before the tears erupted. Life could be just so unfair. Molly was pretty demanding over the next several months about me coming back to the house and spending time with her. Every time I came over there were more blatant evidence of gifts she had gotten from Sutter. Fancy lingerie, jewelry, expensive high heels, even a mink coat. The last time I pulled up, she had a fancy Volvo SUV in the driveway and told me it was her company car. Quite frankly, I was disgusted, but didn't want to discuss anything that would rock the boat. I strictly showed up to be there for her emotionally. At this point, I started to show my frustration in how I treated her, maybe my anger manifesting itself in our interactions. I started to just do what I wanted, and I had recently taken to spending more time doing activities we both enjoyed, knowing that Sutter wouldn't have shared these experiences with her. At first, she wasn't sure about it, but after a few times she became almost obsessed with spending time together, and she asked me to do these activities every time I came over. I was served divorce papers at home, and that started an eruption of tears and second thoughts from Molly, but we weathered that storm and kept moving forward. The months slowly ticked by, and for me the depression and pain I was in about my mom's failing health was my only real emotion left. I was so done with Molly that I spent as little time as I possibly could at our house, telling her I needed to spend every day I could with my mom. Finally, the day came when Sutter sent me an email with a dissolution of marriage document attached. He told me it was final, we were officially divorced, and I should move on with my life and stay away from Molly. He told Molly the same thing, and she left the office that day feigning sickness and rushed home to spend time with me, but I was gone. She called, and I didn't pick up the phone. I was done, and now it was just a matter of how to clue her in that the relationship was over. I had set up a meeting time with her for Saturday morning, but that was the beginning of the worst day in my life. My mom had passed out that morning at the kitchen table, and I couldn't revive her. I called 911, and an ambulance came and collected her, and I followed them to the hospital. I texted Molly with what had happened and canceled our morning meeting and told her I would stay in touch. Mom died later that night in the hospital. She never did gain consciousness, and she just left her body quietly in the middle of the night. I was holding her hand as she took her last breath. I went back to Mom's house and cried myself to sleep, and the next day I forced myself to implement all the funeral details that Mom had been so adamant about planning. The funeral was 4 days later, and in my eulogy, I spent time talking about the love that Mom showered on me and the priceless gems of wisdom she had given me over the course of my life. The church was her bastion of peace, hope, and grace, and I told the pastor that a very large gift would be coming to the church in the near future, per my mom's wishes. I had texted Molly about Mom's funeral and asked her not to come. I kept ignoring her calls, but knew I was just putting off the inevitable confrontation. I finally had the perfect opportunity to end it all when Mom's lawyer called me to set up a reading and execution of the will. The lawyer also asked for Molly's number, as my mom had left her a cash gift of $10,000. I called Molly and told her about the details of Mom's passing and funeral. Molly told me that she was now engaged to be married, and she said that with Mom's passing she wanted to be there for me and show her support. She also said that it was time now to start up our friendship again and start meeting regularly so she could provide emotional support while she got material things from her fiancé. I informed Molly about the reading of the will and asked her to join me at the lawyer's office the next day at 10. Our purpose was to hear and fulfill Mom's will. She agreed, but was unsure about why she needed to be there. I explained to her that Mom left her a gift and the estate administrator wanted to carry out Mom's wishes. There's an estate administrator? I thought all Mom had was the house and some Social Security. So I guess it won't be much, but it's still a wonderful surprise for her to think of me. I wasn't the best daughter-in-law, especially after betraying you with Sutter. I feel guilty about that and everything else. But now we can put all of that behind us and start our journey together again. See you tomorrow at 10, Molly, I said, abruptly ending the call. Although pain, anger, and disgust were rising inside of me, I knew that I was nearing the end of this chapter and would soon embark on a new life. At the reading of the will, Molly and I were directed into a luxurious conference room at the law firm of Jenkins and Mallory, attorneys at law. We took seats on opposite sides of the spacious conference table as Jenkins I, the senior lawyer, opened the will and began. He looked at Molly and said, "Molly Jacobs, your ex-mother-in-law has left you the sum of $10,000 to be paid to you today without any conditions. She wanted me to share one piece of wisdom with you. Remember that a fulfilling life isn't solely about money. Take a close look at what you have and what truly matters, and don't be swayed by material possessions that are merely temporary and superficial." Molly winced upon hearing the gently disguised admonition from her deceased mother-in-law through the lawyer, but she held her tongue. Jenkins then handed her a check, advised her to use the money wisely, and turned his attention to me. "David Jacobs, your mother has designated the following instructions for the rest of her estate. You are to receive the house, valued at $500,000 and mortgage-free, to do with as you please. The sum of $1 million has been gifted to the Church of Christ for them to utilize as they deem fit. A sum of $4 million has been donated to the American Cancer Society to aid in their research and efforts to eradicate cancer. The remaining balance of $5 million, her entire estate, has been bequeathed to you, her sole heir, and will be transferred to whichever account you provide this week. I am truly sorry for your loss." With that, he stood up and left the room, leaving Molly and me alone. When I glanced over at Molly, her mouth was agape and her breathing was heavy. She seemed to be in shock, but eventually, the realization of what was occurring washed over her, and she looked at me with anger, pain, and confusion in her eyes. "What on earth, Dave? Your mom was wealthy. Did you know about this?" "Oh, Molly, I've known for about 10 years now, ever since my grandparents passed away, that I would eventually receive a substantial inheritance from them. But my mother hardly touched that money for her own needs. Dave, this is incredible. Now we're rich, and I can leave that dull, repugnant Sutter and we can revive our relationship. Molly, how incredibly naive can you be? You and I are finished. The moment you violated our marriage vows and cheated on me with Sutter, like a prostitute selling herself for trinkets, jewelry, and fancy meals, you ceased to exist to me. You're nothing more than a gold digger, and your actions truly disgust me. I initiated our speedy divorce so that your greedy hands couldn't get a hold of any of the money I was going to inherit. From the moment I saw you and Sutter going into the Hilton together, I knew our relationship was over. It was only a matter of time until I could remove you from my life. Molly recoiled from my outburst, tears welling up in her eyes as I stared at her with disdain. I continued yelling, now fueled by the pent-up anger from her betrayal, my mother's passing, and life's unfairness. You took the love I had for you and exchanged it for cheap trinkets. You were more concerned with material possessions than a life with me. You claimed to love me, but deep down, you only love yourself and your desire for wealth. Well, I'd never allow you access to this money after seeing your true colors. We are completely done, and my plan is to leave this office and never look at you again. Dave, how could you? You set me up. Why didn't you help me? Yes, I have a need for money and possessions. You know how I grew up. We had nothing. Nobody respected us. We were treated like dirt. From a young age, I learned that you're only valued if you have money. But I genuinely love you, Dave. You should have shown me the possibilities for our future. That's absolute nonsense, Molly. I suppose I understand that you probably believe respect can only be earned through money. But I respected you for who you were, or at least who I thought you were. I loved you just the way you were, and I showed you that every single day. We had something beautiful until you grew tired of our ordinary, middle-class life and desired more. You still don't get it. You sacrificed our love, our friendship, and any chance of a life together for a paltry amount of riches. When you marry Sutter and obtain everything you desire but realize there's no passion or happiness in your life, maybe then you'll see that material possessions are the least important aspect of a well-lived life. I'm utterly disgusted with you, and I could never share my love with you again. Perhaps it's not too late for you. Leave Sutter, quit your job, venture out on your own, and try to discover what truly brings you joy. That's what I'm doing. I'm heading to California to start anew, hoping to eventually find someone who loves me for me, without any concern for wealth or jewelry. I wish you the best, and I'll try to remember you as the beautiful young wife I cherished before your greed destroyed us. Molly slumped in her chair, listening to me with a shocked and pained expression on her face. Then, she burst into tears, burying her head on the table, overcome with grief. Oh God, what have I done? I felt terrible, but it was over, and I had to leave before saying anything more. I got up and, in a softer tone, told her, I'm sorry, Molly, but there's no future for us. Good luck and goodbye. I turned and practically ran out of the room and down to my car. I drove back to Mom's house to execute one final action in my plan. I sent the video of Sutter and Molly's affair to the American Bar Association, accompanied by a letter explaining his actions. I also sent the same letter and video to some of his employees with whom I had been in contact during the divorce proceedings. Additionally, I forwarded them to the National Enquirer, urging them to uncover the story of a divorce attorney who destroyed a marriage by seducing an employee and then facilitated an advantageous divorce to benefit himself. Yes, I lied to Sutter about our arrangement. I thought, why not? He seduced my wife through money and power. He deserved some consequences for his actions. It saddened me to think that this would likely further damage Molly, possibly even destroying her chances of marrying Sutter. However, both of them had betrayed me, and I needed a sense of justice before moving on. Hopefully, this would be the last time I ever had to think about Jay Sutter. Epilogue: Dave Jacobs sold both houses, packed up the few belongings that held significance to him, and relocated to San Diego to embark on a fresh start. He opened his own clinic specializing in massage, physical therapy, Pilates, and yoga, equipped with the latest tools for treating physical ailments and aiding in rehabilitation. About 2 years after establishing his practice, he began dating one of the contracted Pilates instructors, who possessed a stunning physique and a saintly personality. Their relationship blossomed into a deep love and commitment, and they decided to marry, vowing to share their love for eternity. Over the next few years, they welcomed a boy and a girl into their family. They enjoyed activities like surfing, biking, hiking, camping, and expressed their love and respect for each other. Dave never truly grasped the extent of genuine love until he had a family to care for. Jay Sutter managed to retain his license, but he endured the loss of several employees and a decline in the respect and camaraderie among his colleagues and acquaintances. He became a subject of jokes and ridicule. The Inquirer did publish an article about him, leading to a period of embarrassment and public scrutiny that lasted for a few months before eventually subsiding. However, the story continued to resurface whenever someone conducted a search on him or his firm. His law practice suffered a significant hit, with a decrease in bookings and fewer new clients. 2 years later, his firm was no longer ranked among the top 25 in the region due to the negative fallout. Molly and Sutter got married, but Jay was wise enough to have Molly sign a prenuptial agreement before the wedding. It stated that if either of them were involved in any unfaithfulness, the wedding would be dissolved and they would only be left with the assets they brought into the marriage. Molly had to quit her job because her colleagues at the firm treated her poorly and lacked respect for her. She became a homemaker and found herself feeling quite bored. Her days were dull. She did try to make herself happy by buying clothes, jewelry, going on trips, and having fancy meals, but none of those things truly made her feel better. Life with Sutter became a challenging situation, and she couldn't endure it for long. 12 months after they got married, Sutter came home unexpectedly during the workday and found her with one of the junior lawyers from his firm. He immediately asked her to leave and fired the lawyer right away. They went through a quick divorce, and after that, nobody really heard from her. She had moved to the East and was trying to start over. In her new life, she had just enough money after covering her expenses to occasionally go out and enjoy a nice dinner or a night out with her friends. She found herself experiencing more joy in this new life than anything she ever had with Sutter. She still missed and loved Dave, but she finally realized the mess she had created in her life. She had lost the only person she loved and considered her soulmate in exchange for material possessions like jewels and designer clothes. It was dawning on her that a fulfilling life isn't solely about money.